stops.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Benjamin Netanyahu scolds the United States Senate in a blistering speech. We will talk with the former Israeli Prime Minister. More bad news about the 9/11 charities. Not 1 cent of the money raised from the concert record sales has been distributed. We'll tell you why. And guess who is the highest tax and spend member of the Senate? Hey there, Hillary Clinton. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon says there can be no peace with Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat because he stands at the center of an empire of terror. Sharon gave an off-camera interview to Fox News. It was his first with an American news organization since confining Arafat to his West Bank headquarters March 29th. Sharon also said Arafat stands behind terror in the world today. Secretary of State Colin Powell refusing to bow to Israeli pressure to scrap a meeting with Yasser Arafat in Ramallah Saturday. Israeli Prime Minister Sharon saying that the meeting will be, quote, a tragic mistake. Powell says it's necessary. Mr. Powell is set to arrive in Israel tomorrow night. And 2 New England newspapers are now calling for Cardinal Bernard Law to step down as head of the Boston Diocese after the growing church sex abuse scandal. The pressure on Law increased since details emerged about how he handled sex abuse allegations of the Reverend Paul Shanley. Cardinal Law allowed Shanley to continue serving parishes even though the priest was accused of molesting children. Well, the last thing Kmart wants is for Martha Stewart to be upset. The bankrupt discount chain is yanking a supermarket tabloid this week that says Stewart is a monster. Kmart is counting on her line of products to help boost sales. And we're back at the bottom of the hour with another update here on Fox.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. Benjamin Netanyahu says President Bush is not strong enough on terrorism. Very provocative. And I have a number of questions for the former Israeli Prime Minister. We'll have a face-to-face debate a bit later on. But first, a Talking Points memo, more bad news about the 9/11 charity situation. You may remember back on September 21st, all the networks simultaneously broadcast a concert to benefit the 9/11 families and others who were directly affected by the terror attack. Off that concert, CDs and cassettes went on sale, released December 4th. Well, up until this week, we hadn't heard anything about the money generated from the sale of those recordings. Here's the deal. The project essentially was a bomb, with only about $9 million expected to go to charity after expenses. Called the Tribute to Heroes CD, the record sold more than 600,000 copies worldwide, not a large number. After Factor producer Christine Khanna began calling Warner Music and Sony Interscope, things began moving, and the United Way told us they expect to receive the money shortly. They haven't received anything thus far. The main reason the project failed, in my opinion, was lack of promotion, which costs money. So why didn't the artists get out and publicize it? Good question. So we asked the artists. That was fun. Following people had no comment. Bruce Springsteen, Faith Hill, John Bon Jovi, Sting, Dave Matthews, Tom Petty, Neil Young, Stevie Wonder, Fred Durst, Sheryl Crow, Eddie Vedder, Paul Simon, the Dixie Chicks, Enrique Iglesias, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, and Alicia Keys. Billy Joel is ill, but said he is concerned. Take Six wants to wait until Sony makes an official statement on the matter before they comment. So once again, just like the Hollywood community, there's little follow-through with the musicians. Again, Talking Points is amazed. Doing good is a long-term strategy. You just can't do a project and let it go. You have to see it through to the end. If these pop stars really wanted to make a difference, they would have promoted the heck out of that recording on their own time and dime. The media loves these people. Getting attention is no problem. But no, the project failed, and it shouldn't have. There's an important untold story about fame in America, the power of celebrity. We will begin telling it, and in June there'll be an O'Reilly Factor special on the subject. Remember, all who participated in the concert got great publicity for themselves, so they owe it to the families to help them as much as possible. No comments, don't cut it. And that's the memo. Now for an inside look at the story, with us is Lisa Gardner, the music reporter for USA Today. And from Los Angeles, Renata Rafferty, the author of the book, Don't Just Give It Away, How to Make the Most of Your Charitable Giving. All right, Lisa, we'll start with you. Am I wrong here?
Well, I can tell you that as a music reporter, the music industry has come under such intense scrutiny recently that for them to behave in a deliberately or even a carelessly irresponsible manner would just be bad business, I think. I mean, this is such a high-profile charity. It was such a horrible tragedy. I think it's too soon just yet to really lay any blame. I mean, I haven't seen any hard evidence.
All right, but you're not going to sell any more records. I mean, the hard evidence is the CD was a bomb. Would you agree with that?
I don't know if I would say that it was a bomb necessarily.
660,000 after all of that publicity nationwide and all those artists?
It has been a very good year for record sales. I mean, you have to remember the economy's down.
Insane Clown Posse sold 3 times that much with their dopey album. Come on.
Well, you could also point to a number of major artists. You could look at Mariah Carey, whose album was a bomb, just for starters.
It was terrible. The album was awful.
And you like the Insane Clown
No,
Posse album
I'm just saying that this album for the families wasn't terrible.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, it had good material, but did you see one promotion by any of these artists for it?
Well, I'm sure that artists...
Did you see one?
I didn't see an individual promotion,
there
no,
weren't
but I've
any.
spoken...
All right, Renata, am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but I'll tell you, it's just bad business. I mean, a lot of these artists were exposed to the public or segments of the public for the very first time in that concert. This would have been a great opportunity to get their music into the hands of some people who normally hadn't heard them. And historically, we know from research that cause-related marketing efforts, when done appropriately and aggressively, are tremendously beneficial and financially successful, not just for the corporation, but for the charity.
All right. But the situation we face here is this, and this is the no-spin deal, okay? You've got 2 big record companies, Warner and Sony Interscope. They didn't want to put a lot of promotional money behind this because that comes off the top. All right, and I can understand that. I mean, they're basically recouping expenses and giving the rest to the family. So isn't it up to the artists here, if they're sincere in trying to help these people, to go out and sell this album?
You've got a great point on that, and yeah, the artists should have been, even if not for charitable reasons, sure, we would have liked to see them go beyond just performing that night.
I mean, come on.
But from a business perspective, they've missed an opportunity to, as I said, get their music into some hands of some people who wouldn't normally have
Listen,
it.
you know this world better than I do. I mean, I was expecting just what we got. No comment, no comment, no comment. You know, they don't want to come up against me. They don't want to explain themselves. They have a sense of entitlement. But it just doesn't make any sense, all right, for these people, if they're sincere. Now, I know that all of them are not sincere. I know there are some charlatans here who don't care. They want to get their face in front of a nationwide audience. But there are some good people. But all of them will not step up. Does that surprise you?
I don't know if it's a matter of not stepping up. I think it's too early in the process at this point. I mean, the amounts made were just recently tabulated. The first checks were recently sent out.
Yeah, because we called and asked them to send it out. That's why they were sent out. I'm not asking about... I think you're misinterpreting me. I don't want them to criticize the record companies, all right? I agree with you. They're sending the money out now. That's fine with us. What about the promotion? What about that?
Well, I think a number of artists have spoken a great deal about September 11th, and in doing so have mentioned their work and were very much involved in the concert. And these are, you have to remember, these are artists like people like Sting and U2 and Bruce Springsteen. Their fans love them partly because they are socially conscious. And
why wouldn't they go out? Go ahead, Renata.
I think there may be something else at play here, too, because these were artists that represent a number of different recording companies. I'm wondering whether the artists were, in essence, discouraged from promoting the album because it might expose audiences to artists from other companies. Oh. Maybe there was that consideration at play.
Yeah, I have another one, but Elisa just groaned here. What do you think?
Well, I don't mean to be Pollyanna-ish about the whole thing, but I doubt that, again, this was a very high-profile event, a very high-profile
I don't know, but I'll tell you this.
Well, why do you think it has sold so few copies? I mean,
here's why I think it is.
It was out in time for Christmas. What happened?
Yeah, here's what I think it is. Number one, most of these performers, and I hate to say it, are selfish people, all right? And they are not willing to put themselves out on the line unless there's an immediate payoff for them. There is an immediate payoff in a telethon. They get their face on television. People say, oh, look what the good they're doing. But to do the slog work, to go on The O'Reilly Factor, to go on The View, to go on Imus, to go on all of these entertainment programs, and to promote this project to help the families takes work, and it also, their PR people are saying, don't be around so much, don't be so available, that your currency goes down if you're seen too much. You know that, Elisa. You know that's the game they play.
Though I know that you have put out you know, you have solicited, you've expressed interest in this, but do you think they've been actively solicited for this particular project?
I will tell you that guys like Sting and Springsteen and Bono and all these guys could get on any program they wanted any time to talk about anything they wanted.
This issue of celebrity advocacy, and I love that term, and Bill, the first time I heard it was a celebrity on your show.
Right.
But the term celebrity advocacy. But let's face it, we could probably sit here and name the celebrities, whether it's in the recording industry or the movie industry, who we know are true advocates on behalf of a charitable cause or some particular cause. And the rest of them are like the rest of the population.
They're phonies. And
well,
you know,
they're just
we are going to issue an open
invitation
to any of the people that we mentioned to come on here and, you know, maybe even hype the sales. That thing's still in the record stores. You could still buy it. But we'll see what happens. Renata, thanks as always. Elisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the rundown, our good friend in the Arab world, Saudi Arabia, giving money to the families of suicide bombers. Did you know that? And later, Netanyahu and O'Reilly, one-on-one. Right back.
May your travels bring you serenity, satisfaction. Like when you book ahead, ask for the daylight savings rate and save 25% on your days in room. It's like getting the bathroom free. All you need is the inspiration to book now.
They have more filling. Kellogg's Pastry Swirls. They're that good.
It was not my dream to retire here. To the place where a couple first met.
I'm good, thanks.
Married. And always planned to return. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention, and it became my own. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley, one client at a time.
Lobster Fest is here, and for a limited time, you can get a mouth-watering plate of Maine lobster tail and succulent shrimp, all for just $12.99. So come in now for Lobster Fest and go overboard.
This is Bob. Bob is doing well. Very well indeed. That's because not long ago, Bob realized that he needed something better in his life. And what did he get? Why, a big boost of confidence, a little more self-esteem, and a very happy missus at home. If you're interested in learning more about Enzyte, call for more information at 1-877-4-ENZYME or visit us online.
The Impact segment tonight, another suicide bombing today. The first one since April 1st. 8 Israelis were killed, 14 people injured. Saddam Hussein made headlines when he announced the Iraqi government was giving money to the families of suicide bombers, thereby encouraging terrorism, obviously. And guess who else is doing that? Our pals, the Saudis. With us now is Ambassador Richard Murphy, who served in Saudi Arabia under President Reagan as ambassador there. So, were you surprised they're giving money to the suicide bomber families?
No, they're giving money to widows and orphans, which has been a long-standing act of charity on their part, and they're not funding terrorists. That's what your lead-in showed.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's my opinion. My opinion, Ambassador, I'll be quite clear to you, is that anybody who gives money to the families of suicide bombers is encouraging terrorism. That's my opinion. Am I wrong, sir?
You're entitled to it, and yes, you are wrong.
Why am I wrong?
They don't fund terror. I mean, they've been accused of sending hijackers to the planes on September 11th. The target of September 11th was the Saudi regime, not the United States, or at least indirectly get the United States out of Saudi Arabia so that the regime will fall like a ripe fruit into the hands of the Osama bin Ladens. They don't fund terror.
All right. But let's deal with the specific thing of sending money to the families of suicide bombers. All right. Now, you got Saddam Hussein doing that, and you got the Saudis doing that. To me, if you're going to say, look, we feel sorry for you because you just killed 4 babies and 3 little kids, we're going to send you a check because your son or daughter did that. To me, that is an abomination. That's terrible.
They didn't single out the families of suicide bombers.
Yes, they
For
did.
a few years,
they're
they've
sending
been
$10,000 to each suicide bomber family, Mr. Ambassador.
You're talking, I think, about the figure that Saddam was giving. The last
No,
figure
I'm
I
talking
saw
about
was
the Saudi
3,500.
No, the
All right,
Saudi government.
Where'd you get your information then?
The information is on the Associated Press. Are they lying?
UPI story?
Yeah,
I think it says $3,500, but that has been going for the last few years to those who lost members of their family, whether engaged in action against the Israelis or not, but as a result of the intifada in the last year and a half.
All right. I mean, look, I don't mind them taking sides with the Palestinians against the Israelis, all right? If they want to do that, that's up to them. I do mind them sending money to the families of terror bombers who kill babies. I think that's appalling. But let's move on. The United States is now moving some of their military operations out of Saudi Arabia. My sources tell me because they don't trust the Saudis, because they are going to go after Saddam Hussein, just a matter of time, and they don't trust the Saudis to support us in that action. All right? What do you think about that?
The statement I've read was from General Franks, the Central Command SINC. He said they have been diversifying their bases of operation throughout the Arabian Peninsula. Qatar is one place. Bahrain, we've had the Navy for years. Saudi Arabia, we've had access to that special facilities, the Sultan Air Base, I think it is, south of Riyadh, the state-of-the-art stuff in there, and they are creating an alternative base.
Yeah, because they don't trust the Saudis to support us going after Saddam Hussein.
Well, that may be, but it's also good military tactics.
Sure it is.
Not to put all your eggs in one basket.
Look, the problem is that Bandar and all these guys and the Saudis, they say, we're your friends, we're your friends, we're your friends. I don't believe the Saudi Arabians are friends to America. I don't believe that one bit.
Well, are you going to argue they're foes of America?
I'm going to argue that they're friends of themselves. They're opportunists. They need our money. They need to sell us oil, and they want to keep us as friends, but when push turns to shove, they're not going to help us against people like Saddam Hussein.
Well, name one country that doesn't work for its own interests. Don't single Saudis out.
Well,
as
I will name one. I
greedy.
think Great Britain is a good friend to the United States, all right? And I think that they, at least Tony Blair, puts himself in a very precarious position to do what's right. I don't think the Saudi government does what's right.
I'm not putting Saudi Arabia in the category of Great Britain.
All right, you asked me to name one, and I did.
Well, I should have asked you to name three.
All right, I could probably name three, but let's again.
Okay.
Do you believe that they're our friends?
I think we got common interests that have been very advantageous to us, both access to the military facilities from the Gulf War days, a common policy of avoiding price hikes or spikes in the oil market, maintaining a capacity to supply, to surge oil production if characters like Saddam Hussein say we're going to make a political use of the oil weapon. They don't believe in that. We don't believe in that.
All right, so you think the Saudis would help us on the oil front if other countries cut back, they would increase production to help us?
They're one of the few in the world that can. They've got about 2 million barrels a day
would they?
access. They have in the past.
They have, but would they now? See, it's a different ballgame now.
Why not?
Well, because I think the Saudi government is very worried about the fundamentalist threat that they have to face. That in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they have a lot of fanatics, and they have a lot of people who would, as you said, like to see them removed. So they're playing both ends against the middle.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that doesn't mean that they're going to use oil as a weapon against us.
Doesn't mean, but it doesn't mean they're going to help us. And I don't know if they're going to help us. I wouldn't bet on it.
Well, the only ones that are interested in using it are Iran and Iraq. And Iraq has gone ahead and cut it for, I think, production for 1 month. And they're not going to see a great advantage to Iraq or to any cause for doing that.
But I'm just getting a feeling from you think that they're our friends. The Saudis are our friends.
I think we've got common interests. Yeah. I don't deal in friendship.
You trust them?
I deal in interests.
You trust them?
If our interests coincide, I trust them.
All right. Mr. Ambassador, thanks very much. Upcoming as we continue, a new study on Americans who pay taxes, and guess who is the biggest spender in Washington? Hello, Hillary Clinton. Those reports after these messages.
This program is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com.
The princess decided to go for...
That ocean, she's really picking up. Well, we'll just have to wait it out.
Mother, I'm scared.
No need to be scared, little kitten.
We have to get to safety! Let us land, Grandpa! Hurry, everyone! Get in!
Where was
Judd, Morgan Freeman. High Crimes is a provocative and suspenseful thriller packed with non-stop action. Witnesses were murdered. With a killer ending. High Crimes, rated PG-13, now playing.
Thousands of lives have been touched by the National Marrow Donor Program. If you've been told an unrelated transplant is a treatment option, call the National Marrow Donor Program at 1-800-MARROW2 or go to marrow.org.
The future in quality foot care is available today at your nearest Foot Solution store. Foot Solutions' trained staff is ready to fit you with custom orthotics and shoes designed to look great and feel great. Whether you're looking for top-of-the-line athletic shoes or stylish dress shoes, do your feet a favor and step into a Foot Solutions store today. When your feet feel better, your whole body feels better. Foot Solutions, your complete foot care center. 2 great Foot Solutions locations to serve you, Clackamas and Tigard.
Mitsubishi says, what are you going to do with the money you save when you have 0 down, 0 interest, 0 payments till 2003 on all Mitsubishis? 2002 Eclipse, Montero, Montero Sport, Lancer, all models. Quality and value is what it's all about. And you know what? Mitsubishi's thrown in another 0. Get 0% interest for 60 months on all new 2001 Mitsubishis. There's no better way to get a new automobile and save. That's 0, 0, 0. Come down to any of the Portland Metro Mitsubishi dealers and see for yourself. Mitsubishi, wake up and drive.
In fact, a follow-up segment tonight, a new study by the IRS on Americans who pay taxes in order to keep the USA running. Trillions of dollars are needed each year, and we have to give it to them. According to the IRS, 50% of all Americans, 50%, pay just 4% of the federal income tax. In essence, lower-income wage earners are getting a free ride. Rich Americans, those earning about $300,000 or more a year, pay more than 33% of the nation's upkeep, and the other third is paid for by those making more than $50,000 a year. So it seems that the rich are carrying a big load. Should we care? Joining us now from Washington is Congresswoman Janice Schakowsky. Well, let me get that right, Congresswoman.
No.
Janice Schakowsky, a Democrat from
Jan,
Illinois. I'm the worst guy in the world on names. I can say my own, and that's about it. We appreciate your time, Congressman.
Call me Jan.
All right. You heard the stats. 4% of the bottom 50% of wage earners, that's all they pay. That's a free ride, wouldn't you say?
Here's the good news for the rich people is that they now make a larger share of the money. They pay more of the taxes because they have a heck of a lot more of the money. And even better news, Bill, they pay a smaller percent of their income in taxes than they used to. So there's actually a dropping share.
Well, and they used to. I mean, if you want to go way back. But look, what has happened in this country...
not even way back.
What happened in this country is basically very few Americans are now paying the lion's share of everybody. Now, is that fair?
Well, what's probably not fair is that there's been a growing disparity among incomes. And I think the fact that wealthier Americans have more money means that they are going to pay more taxes. But let's remember, Bill, that tax rate just went down. So
all right, well, it went down, and thanks to the Bush administration, but not the Democrats who would raise it on the rich. And I want to get your opinion. Look, I don't have any sympathy for the Ken Lays of the world and the Gary Winnecks who, you know, make an obscene amount of money and then drive their companies into bankruptcy. I would tax them like 95% of their income, and then I put them in jail after I took all their money. All right, I don't have sympathy for those people. But what I'm trying to do is get a fair tax structure, a fair. And what I see from you and the Democrats, Congresswoman, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you like the progressive tax. You like to say, all right, if somebody hits it big, somebody makes money, we'll take 70% of their income away from them. And I've studied the Constitution, and I don't think the government has a right to do that.
Actually, what we've seen, and you know, I love you, Bill. You're a bleeding heart conservative, taking care of the wealthiest people. But what we've seen is that those wealthiest people have had a 157% increase in their income, while the lower income people have actually seen a decrease in their income.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think that we're seeing that the disparity between CEO incomes, top executive
why do you think that the top echelon has gone up so much in their income? Why?
Because I think that we're seeing that there's a big difference between the executives and the average working people. That's why.
All right. So you think that the fix is in, that the white boys club who run corporate America take care of their own?
Well, we certainly are seeing that people at the bottom are doing worse, people at the top are doing a heck of a lot better, and federal policy has helped that along
All right,
and continues to help that along.
Do you believe that the federal government should punish achievement by putting taxation 60–70% on these people? And listen, I'm agreeing with you. Some of them are sleazy SOBs, and they disgust me. But do you believe the federal government should punish them by taking so much of their income away?
You know what? I actually give the people who make more income a little more credit, I guess, than you do. I think the fact that they help support programs like education, like health care, is a good thing. And it's a privilege to do so when you make enough money to be able to do so. We are seeing that they're paying less of their income in taxes. They're getting a tax break.
That sounds nice, but when 50% of all their tax money coming into Washington is wasted, that's when that theory falls apart. It sounds nice, but you're wasting 50 cents on the dollar.
That's fine. Then let's talk about waste. You know, I'm the ranking Democrat on the Government Efficiency Subcommittee. And do you know that the Department of Defense cannot account for, hold on to your seat, Bill,
I know.
1.2
we did a story on it last week. We did a story on it last week. And it just makes my point
$1.2 trillion.
That you guys will tax, but not watch where the money goes.
But wait a second, Bill. It's the Republicans who seem to have lost about $5.6 trillion.
All of you, not just the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independents, and everyone. Well, you want our money, and then you don't want it.
when taxes go up.
No, I'm blaming everybody in Washington. You want the big tax nut, but you won't watch the dough. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think we ought to begin by looking at those tax cuts, who they go to. But I think more than that, maybe we ought to take a look at the bloated defense budget. I'm for fighting the war on terrorism and homeland security.
Let's not waste the money.
We're wasting a lot of money.
Absolutely. You lead that vanguard, Congresswoman. I'm right there with you, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Guess who's the biggest spender of tax dollars in Washington? Senator Hillary Clinton. In a moment.
Standard turns platinum, the New York Times.
Hands down, the car of the year, the Detroit News.
The interior is near perfect. Business Week.
Hey, who you calling near perfect? The 2002 Camry.
In a valley, near a river, there's a place called Perfect. In Perfect, everyone wakes up smiling. There is no wrong side of the bed. Underwear never turns pink. And a baker's dozen is 14. Of course, we don't live anywhere near perfect, so we have Walgreens, open every day, many 24 hours, where we can get what's needed for the real world. That's life. This is Walgreens.
Experience the new National Geographic Channel. Spectacular new shows. Around-the-clock adventure. The continuing story of life on Earth every day of the week. A new channel. A new National Geographic. Log on to nationalgeographic.com and request the new NGC. Always wonder.
Dangerous and daring rescues at sea. Deadly clashes with vicious drug runners. Stopping illegal immigrants.
We are the law enforcement on the waters.
The United States Coast Guard. Silent sentinels who protect and defend our waterways. We take you inside their world and find out what it takes to survive. Join us for real-life Coast Guard rescues. The news you need from the name you trust. Fox News Live with Shepard Smith.
We're not going to leave the job unfinished.
Fair and balanced on Fox News Channel.
The Personal Story segment tonight, Senator Hillary Clinton is the biggest spender in Washington, according to the National Taxpayers Union, a nonpartisan watchdog group. In fact, Mrs. Clinton received the lowest score on public spending in the history of the group for a freshman senator. I mean, she voted for just about every government spending project proposed. Joining us now from Washington is our old pal, Lanny Davis, who, of course, is a Hillary supporter. All right, now, you know, obviously it didn't come to any surprise that Mrs. Clinton's a liberal and all of this, but, you know, the nanny state is out now. It's out. It's out of vogue. at least among most people. And it's like, okay, we want to be fiscally responsible. We want to limit our spending. We want to watch where the dollar goes. You know, Lanny, here is a list of things that Hillary Clinton, you can't see it because you're in Washington. It's 15 pages long. It's every single thing. Come on. Come on. What's going on?
First of all, Bill, to describe the National Taxpayers Union as, what did you say, a nonpartisan watchdog group. Any badge of honor where they rank you bad is good, and the opposite in my book. But let me give you three facts.
Why is that?
Well, I'll give you three facts. You're a respecter of truth. Fact one, they rank Hillary negatively for supporting a $3,000 tax credit for long-term health care. They rank her negatively for supporting a $200 million grant on a dollar-for-dollar basis to public libraries. They rank her negatively for supporting $60 million for a national principal corps that would allow 10,000 principals to have leaves of absences from public schools. And they rank her negatively for supporting an end to the marriage penalty, which the administration supported. Now, do you still want to call them a credible organization, Bill?
Well, I'll tell you what, you spun it brilliantly, and you are a brilliant spinner.
Those are facts.
But here's what the organization does. For every time you vote for a spending bill, you get a little check. And they're not evaluating the program. They're evaluating how much spending you want the government to do. It's not that they're saying this is worthy and this isn't worthy. They don't do that. But all I'm saying is that overall, Mrs. Clinton votes for every single government spending program. That she basically wants to create a nanny state where the federal government gives you everything you need from the time you're born to the time you die. Now, you're a student of history. Is this what Benjamin Franklin wanted? Is this what Thomas Jefferson wanted?
Well, first of all, your characterizations, I believe, based upon a non-credible organization are simply untrue.
No, I'm based upon her vote. Let's throw out the organization. Let's go on her votes.
You said every single spending program.
Every single spending program she votes for. Every one.
Let me put it this way. I would be more concerned about overspending votes if Mrs. Clinton weren't part of an administration as the wife of President Clinton that balanced the budget and insisted to the Republicans, you can't spend unless you show us where you're going to cut.
You didn't know this,
Republican,
you didn't know this.
Under this Republican leadership.
You didn't know this, but when President Clinton was trying to balance the budget, they had to lock Hillary in the bathroom. She couldn't come out.
Now,
I'm going to go back to my question. Do you believe that Benjamin Franklin, the founding father, I was a joke, founding fathers wanted the nanny state, wanted the nanny state? Do you believe that was their intent?
I don't think it was their intent, nor is it the Democratic Party's intent, nor was it not the Clinton administration or Senator Clinton's intent.
Hillary. It's not her intent to create a nanny state?
No, it is, in fact,
it is her intent.
It is her intent. I just gave you 4 examples, including
I'll give you 4
the marriage tax penalty. That give me 4 more, and we'll have the American people judge whether those are votes that they believe in or not.
Voted for a dairy subsidy plan, all right, that would raise the price of milk for everybody. She voted against phasing out sugar quotas so that sugar prices will be higher for everybody. She voted to table a motion that would have allowed imported catfish to be labeled as catfish, thereby making catfish prices go down. Look, Lanny, you know and I know that this woman wants big government, wants big spending, and you haven't answered the question. I'll give you one more chance. This is not what the original founders wanted here. They wanted us to be self-reliant. I'll give you the last word.
I think the original founders want government that's a blend of helping people in need and balancing the budget. And under Democratic 8 years with Mrs. Clinton and President Clinton, we had a balanced budget. Under the Republican leadership of the House, we're spending huge amounts of money that hasn't been funded.
All right, and that's because we're in a war on terror. But, Lanny, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Next, the big debate, Netanyahu versus O'Reilly, when we come back.
News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Despite urging from the world community, the violence in the Middle East continues to escalate. Fox's Steve Harrigan has more now from the West Bank.
Palestinian Authority Chairman Yasser Arafat remains holed up in his compound here in Ramallah, but that isolation was eased somewhat to allow Mr. Arafat to meet with 4 of his advisors in possible preparation for a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell. That meeting could come as early as Saturday. That's despite heavy criticism from the Israelis. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon called that possible meeting a tragic mistake. He said that Arafat was the head of a regime of terror. Also, military concerns on the Prime Minister's mind, the possible opening of a second front. Lebanese guerrillas from the north fired more than a dozen Katyusha rockets on Wednesday. Those rockets landed in the Golan Heights. The fighting in Bethlehem. There was gunfire overnight around the Church of the Nativity. The latest victim from that conflict, it's not clear who shot him, but an Armenian monk was shot. This monk resides on the compound where the Church of the Nativity is, on one of the holiest sites of Christianity, a monk shot in the back. On the West Bank in Ramallah, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
And we're back at the top of the hour. The O'Reilly Factor continues after the break.
A million uses and counting. The 210 horsepower supercharged Nissan Xterra. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Plastic holds the promise of a better world, taking medicine to new heights and giving our lives greater comfort. It's in the packaging that protects us and a pacemaker to empower us, every day touching every generation. From the ambulance to the emergency room, it puts the answers in our hands and hope in our hearts. For a safer, more brilliant tomorrow, plastics make it possible.
This is good.
No, this is really good.
This is like private island good.
No, this is like long massage good.
This is first kiss good.
Shoe shopping good.
I'd like to thank the Academy good.
Oh, this is so good, I'm actually in pain.
Rich, creamy Yoplait yogurt. It is so good.
Oh, this is bad.
There are some vacations that last a lifetime, and there's no better time to take one than right now. At Travelocity, you can find great deals on over 5,000 getaways like this one. And if you book now with your MasterCard to great destinations like Hawaii, you'll get a prepaid MasterCard worth up to $150 and a chance to win a complete surf and sky Hawaiian experience. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Unresolved Problems segment tonight. Hardline Israeli former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke before members of the U.S. Senate today, and he isn't pleased about President Bush calling for an Israeli military pullback.
The question many in my country are now asking is this: will America apply its principles consistently and win this war? Or will it selectively abandon these principles and thereby ultimately risk losing the war? Until last week, I was absolutely certain that the United States would adhere to its principles and lead the free world to a decisive victory. Today, I too have my concerns.
Joining us now from Washington is Benjamin Netanyahu. You know, I saw you on Hannity and Combs earlier in the week, and I'm with you about the terrorism deal. There's no question that blowing up children and women is terrorism, and it's got to be fought, and I have no problem with the Israeli government being as aggressive as they can in fighting terrorism. But there's a difference between our fight here against al-Qaeda and your fight against the Palestinians, and here's the difference. The Palestinians have some legitimate grievances against the Israeli government, specifically that in their territory you have hundreds of thousands of Israeli settlers, which exacerbate the problem. We, on the other hand, didn't do anything to al-Qaeda. They just attacked us out of the blue. So it's not exactly the same comparison. Where am I going wrong?
Twice. Number one, it makes no difference whether you have a grievance, real or imaginary. Nothing justifies terrorism. That was the first principle that President Bush articulated. Nothing, absolutely nothing justifies terrorism any more than something justifies Nazism. Hitler had grievances. He thought he was shortchanged. Germany was shortchanged in Versailles. So what? You don't practice Nazism. If the Palestinians have grievances, so what? Nothing justifies blowing up children on a bus. That's the first part. The second part is that their grievances are not real ones in the sense that they constantly say this is occupied territory. Well, it's not occupied territory. It is a territory that is in dispute. It is territory that was seized by Jordan. It's part of our ancestral homeland. That's where Judea is the word from which, the area from which Jews come from. We've been there for thousands of years, but nevertheless, it was taken over illegally by Jordan in 1948, and then taken over by Israel in a war of self-defense. The UN Resolution 242 says that Israel has to withdraw from some areas, not all of them, from some areas to secure and recognize boundaries. So we have a dispute.
All right,
but
I
mind you,
understand the
all the
dispute.
Palestinian areas, Bill, just one last point on this. All the Palestinians live under a Palestinian government. They don't live under us.
Understand.
So we're not occupying Palestinians.
What
We have
they're
areas in
saying
dispute.
is that you've made incursions into their territory so that they can't settle there. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. Now, is it legitimate to fight terrorism with terrorism? There is no question that terrorism and the suicide bomber is a terrorist. But when you guys go in and level camps and, you know, smash through people's apartment walls looking for the terrorists and do these things, they consider that terrorism. So are you fighting terrorism with terrorism?
No, that's what the Taliban are saying about you. I mean, the terrorists deliberately target civilians, which is a war crime, and then deliberately hide behind civilians seeking immunity. Well, you didn't give them that immunity in Afghanistan, and you, in fact, used overwhelming air power. You first told them, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, get out, surrender, and if you don't, we're coming in. And you told that to the civilian population. Whoever left, and you just went in there and bombed. And I'm not faulting you at all for those civilian casualties. The civilian casualties, both in the World Trade Center and in Afghanistan, are the responsibility of Mullah Omar and bin Laden. Both of them are responsible. Right. In our case, the civilian casualties are the responsibility of Arafat, who both sends his killers to our coffee shops and our pizzerias.
But there's a matter of degree, and you know,
hides behind them.
As a military man, you know it's a matter of degree. You can do certain things, and you can be restrained in certain things. We were restrained in our bombing of Afghanistan. We didn't go in and carpet bomb that whole country, and we could have. We didn't. We surgical bombed, and of course you're going to make mistakes and things. But look, let's put that aside.
Bill, stop. This is supposed to be a creative dialogue, so I'm going to stop you and interrupt you. Here's the main point. You were precise and careful in your bombing in Afghanistan. I don't doubt that. We didn't bomb.
No, you couldn't bomb.
Yeah, we used.
You couldn't.
No, we could.
You couldn't.
We could take our aircraft and do what you're doing in Afghanistan.
No. It's too dense. It's too much of an urban situation. You couldn't do it.
Have you seen?
Yeah,
have you seen the villages and towns in Afghanistan?
Many times.
In Afghanistan?
No.
Let me tell you something. No, but you haven't been to Afghanistan. What we've done is done what you haven't done, and I don't blame you for not doing it. We've put our ground troops in place right from the start. We've gone house to house, putting our own soldiers at risk. 13 of them died yesterday as a result of a kid with suicide bombing dispatched by the Palestinians. They didn't want to shoot the kid.
Like us in Vietnam.
Our own soldiers,
But look,
we
Mr.
put our
Prime
own
Minister,
soldiers
like
at
us
risk because we do not want to include increased civilian casualties.
But
go ahead.
Like us in Vietnam, whenever you do that, you're going to anger the local population. There is the danger of soldiers making mistakes, brutalizing civilians, and you know it's happened. But let's go on. I think the only solution to this problem between you and the Palestinians...
You have the last word on every one of them?
No, I just want to get another. I want to get another topic because you're a fascinating guy.
Let me put something in. We're not. I must tell you, Bill. Israel is doing what no army in the world would do in the face of this wanton terrorism that by now has killed 7 times the numbers of Israelis prorated as in the World Trade Center. We're going house to house. We're not carpet bombing. We're putting our soldiers at risk. We could finish this thing in 2 days if we just blanket fire.
I understand that, but you understand my point too. When you do that, you're going to anger the population, and people are going to get hurt. That
well,
I understand why you're doing
the
it.
population in Afghanistan. You know,
right.
So what?
Now, the solution to this problem in Israel and the Palestinians, in my opinion, is you have to separate the two. You have to separate. All right. You have to get a mandate where Palestinians are here, Israelis are here, and in the middle are the UN forces to keep you apart. All right. And that way, there wouldn't be infiltration. There would be a controlled situation. Is that the solution that you see?
Well, I certainly think the Palestinians ought to have self-government. I think we have to have an effective physical lines of separation, but I disagree that the UN would do it. We put the UN in UNIFIL to spend tens of billions of dollars on a UN force called UNIFIL to separate Palestinian terrorism from Israel in South Lebanon. The result was that the international forces served as a cover for the Palestinian terrorists, and they thought that Israel couldn't go through them. In fact, it was very difficult to go through them. So, in fact, it increased terrorism. No, I think the right thing to do is to remove Arafat's regime that is committed to Israel's destruction, to have democratic elections in the Palestinian areas, choose a new leadership that doesn't want to destroy Israel and doesn't use terrorism. Let us negotiate a workable deal where the Palestinians have self-government and we have security. That's equitable, that's reasonable. It will not happen as long as Arafat is there.
But I don't think the Palestinians are going to support that election. We have a minute left. Why?
They can support anything. They don't have a choice. They're governed by the dark dictatorship of Arafat.
Why does Europe hate Israel?
I don't know, but Europe has a lot to answer for, because 60 years ago they did damn all and allowed the Jewish people to be murdered on its soil, and now 60 years later they side with another mass murderer who's murdering innocent people and condemning Israel, the sovereign Jewish state, for finally taking
You don't know why they're siding with the Palestinians?
Oil, other reasons, many reasons, propaganda, you name it. Nothing absolves that opaqueness. I think the American people have shown an admirable common sense. They know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And the bad guys are the Arafats of the world, the Talibans of the world. Europe doesn't seem to have that sense of clarity.
Mr. Prime Minister, as always, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll be back with Bill Bennett in a moment.
Low interest or high pollen? If you're one of millions who suffer from seasonal allergies, you may need Allegra. Only Allegra has fexofenadine, an exclusive allergy-fighting ingredient that gives you long-lasting 24-hour relief without causing drowsiness. For people 12 and older, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Talk to your doctor today about allergies and free Allegra samples. Once daily Allegra. Real relief for real living.
Well, Mr. Limbaugh, what has our little agitator been up to this week? Gluing Mrs. Brindle to her chair? Bringing in your sister's underpants for show and tell? Science project took out East Wing? Do you know where smart Alex like you end up?
On the radio?
Rush Limbaugh has moved to News Talk 620 KTLK. News Talk for the Great Northwest.
Flanders and 23rd. Oh, no. You've got to be kidding me.
A lot goes into the eye of the storm getaway from the Weather Channel. Our prizes are rigorously tested by the experts for use in adverse conditions, such as your own home. Battle the elements with a grand prize 53-inch Sony high-scan TV and home theater system, or one of 5 other great first prize home entertainment packages. And see how people really battle the elements when you watch Storm Week, April 1st through 5th on the Weather Channel. Log on to AT&TBroadband.com to enter the eye of the storm getaway.
Get fit with the Awesome Hour Upper Body Home Workout, the new video from the creators of the best-selling Fitness Made Simple program. Work out with fitness celebrity John Bastow at home and learn the keys to sculpting a lean, muscular physique.
The Awesome Hour Upper Body Home Workout provides exercises to help build your chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, and even abs.
Just 1 hour or less for each workout. Now there's no time excuse for not staying in shape. Have your credit card ready and call now to order.
Back in the book segment tonight, William Bennett has a new book out called Why We Fight, Moral Clarity and the War on Terrorism. Mr. Bennett, as you may know, is a conservative and a Roman Catholic. He joins us now from Washington. Got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. First of all, last night I called for Cardinal Law of Boston to resign or be indicted. Your feeling on that?
Yes, I wrote an editorial in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago saying that he needed to resign, and that was before the evidence that's come out in the last couple of days was in. Yeah, you know, one thing we know about in Washington, Mr. O'Reilly, is cover-up, and this was a cover-up, and it shouldn't have happened. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. They need to let more sunlight in. He needs to go.
Do you know him?
Yes, I do. I've known him for years, liked him and admired him for years, but this is egregious, and it's a terrible shame, but he's the responsible party. Accountability.
What do you think is at the root of his problem and not taking aggressive action to stop these pedophile priests? Do you have any idea?
I think it's probably hundreds, maybe thousands of years of the church being under assault by any number of different authorities, you know, from Rome forward to kings to others, saying, you know, we've got to keep our own affairs in hand. We can't let the rest of the world know because they'll use any excuse to try to put us out of business. It's a bad habit in the modern world. It's a bad habit in a democracy. It's a bad habit in a land where people, Catholics, will forgive the church for the sins of people, but be angry with the church if there's a cover-up.
Yeah. So they're paranoid about letting anybody know anything bad about it, and they do all these bad things. Well,
it's an old habit, and it's an old habit, and it dies hard, but it's got to die.
All right, we just talked to Benjamin Netanyahu, and I know you're a big supporter of Israel, and I understand where the Israelis are coming from, but I also understand that when you have settlements, as they do, hundreds of them, on Arab soil, on Palestinian soil, that you're exacerbating a situation, and that at this juncture, when you've proven your point, you've gone in there and disrupted the Palestinian state, that would it be better for them to pull back and say, all right, now, we're going to give you one more chance to get this thing under control, and we're going to compromise as well. Would that be better to do now?
I guess somebody can always say one more chance, but how many chances do you get? How many bites at the apple do you get? How many chances did we give to al-Qaeda and bin Laden before we struck back? Look, the Israelis have conceded the largest point here, that the Palestinians have grievances. They've conceded that for years in any number of meetings and treaties. They concede that under an agreement they'll give up land, and they've given up land before. What they can't concede is that it's all right for other entities to inflict death on their people at will every day in supermarkets, seders, and everywhere else. These guys at least have to renounce their position that Israel should be extinguished from the face of the earth.
We had Ambassador Murphy, Ambassador of Saudi Arabia under Ronald Reagan, on earlier in the broadcast, and I got almost upset at the man because I said, look, Saudi Arabia is paying the bombers' families money every time they blow themselves up, and he said that's okay. And it's outrageous. I mean, I think that's, you know, helping terrorists.
We call that an accessory to the crime, accessory to murder in American law. That's ridiculous. It's outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Now, Europe hates Israel. Europe doesn't like us. What's going on over there?
We've done too much for them. You know, you want to earn somebody's contempt, do too much for them. I mean, it's an old aphorism, but in a way it's true. You know, we have saved their bacon every time they're in serious trouble. We liberated them twice from barbarism in this century. We rebuilt the whole continent. There's a kind of, attitude that they are somehow superior to us because they've been around longer, and it's really envy.
Why do they hate Israel so much? Why are they just, you know, so pro-Palestinian?
It's hard for me to know exactly. I'm not sure anybody knows exactly. Let me suggest two things. They're a close friend of the United States. There is also, as you know, Bill, a kind of virulent anti-Semitism going on now in the world, in the Middle East and in Europe, that is extraordinary. Bernard Lewis, the professor at Princeton, has said there's nothing like this that's gone on since the Third Reich. I mean, you read stuff out of the Middle East Media Research Institute, I know we get that stuff, that talks about Hitler of blessed memory, and this stuff is cropping up in Europe. The decadence of Europe used to be a phrase people reserved for when they were really angry, but there is a kind of decadent thinking, a kind of resentment of the New World, a resentment of the success of the United States and Israel that is very telling. It's very discouraging, and it's very telling about them.
Right, and we have to exempt Britain, of course, in that, because they've been our best friend, and,
Absolutely,
again,
been terrific.
Right, and Blair stepping up at his own risk once again, and I admire the man.
Yeah, and you make a very good point, a good correction, because the intellectuals in Britain are like the intellectuals in continental Europe.
He's catching
Blair's standing up, and frankly, I was surprised.
Right. Mr. Bennett, we appreciate it. The book, again, is Why We Fight, Moral Clarity in the War on Terrorism, and it's a good read for anybody out there looking to get educated, and we appreciate it always. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you, Mr.
Next, we'll wrap things up with the most ridiculous item of the day and some of your mail.
Round and round, I'm coming back, I'm coming
Morgan Freeman. High Crimes is a provocative and suspenseful thriller packed with non-stop action. Witnesses were murdered with a killer ending. High Crimes, rated PG-13, now playing.
They have more filling. Kellogg's Pastry Swirls. They're that good.
Tomorrow, drug users, bail jumpers, felons, they're finding refuge in one town. Is it yours? Then, in the fight for freedom, they paid the ultimate price. But how much could it cost you? Spending your tax dollars for reparations to Afghans' families? We report, you decide. That's tomorrow on Fox News Live.
I'm Edie Donahue. Tomorrow on Fox and Friends, President Bush walks a tightrope with the Mideast crisis. What's his next move? Former presidential advisor David Gergen joins us 6 a.m.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. Things are still ridiculous at the nation's airports. It's really painful to fly because of all the chaos at the ticket counters and security stations. But we've always thought that once the plane was parked, things were safe. Think again. In Los Angeles, a parked American Airlines jet began rolling, smashed through a fence, and didn't stop until its nose hit a side street. As always, airline officials say an investigation is underway. We say, have your experts check the parking brake. It was probably not properly set, which, of course, could be ridiculous. Finally, tonight, the Mail, the tide has definitely turned against Cardinal Law of Boston after proof has surfaced that he protected yet another pedophile priest. We received thousands of emails about him. 90% want him to resign. Jim Dunleavy, Charlotte, North Carolina. Bill, I am a Roman Catholic, father of 10, grandfather of 11. I cannot say it strongly enough. Law should go or be prosecuted. Betty Munley, Enwell, New York. In my opinion, Cardinal Law has joined the ranks of Judas Iscariot. Jonathan Epstein, Boston. Bill, I am sick of this good men make mistakes line we've been fed in Boston for months. If a guy does 10 good things but then commits murder, is he still a good man? But there are those who still defend the Cardinal. Nancy Serwick, Oak Lawn, Illinois. Mr. O'Reilly, your extreme bushwhacking of Cardinal Law was unwarranted and sad. The Catholic Church doesn't need Catholics like you. Peter Tully, Locust Grove, Georgia. Bill, it would be nice for you to express the same moral outrage about the George Bush Enron scandal that you do about Cardinal Law. Mr. Tully, I guess you missed a dozen or so segments we have done on Enron. And by the way, the president was not involved. And why exactly are you drawing this comparison? Talk about apples and oranges. Vincent Kirkuru, Simsbury, Connecticut. Bill, you are right. Evil has gotten a foothold in the church. It is time for an exorcism. About the continuing controversy over reparations, Charlton Heston, Beverly Hills, California. I'm appalled to find that rabble-rousers want compensation for slavery from Americans. When Lincoln freed the slaves, many of them joined the Northern Army. At the end of the war, 10% of those serving in the Northern forces were black, and blacks have continued to defend this country ever since. About our pal Geraldo's coverage of the Middle East, Susan Abendanzo, Silver Spring, Maryland. Bill, thanks for giving Geraldo the chance to defend himself against his relentless critics. Stuart Sachs, Stamford, Connecticut. Why should anyone be surprised at the vigor with which Geraldo espouses the Palestinian cause? Didn't he defend Bill Clinton from start to finish? Linda Fisher, San Antonio, Texas. Mr. O, thanks for explaining to Geraldo how the world works. When cowardly terrorists hide behind civilians, there are going to be civilian casualties when those terrorists are pursued. Delana Zamora, El Paso, Texas. O'Reilly, I just watched the interview with the lead singer of Creed. I never noticed how handsome you are. You never noticed, Delana? Lisa Blount, Patterson, California. Mr. O'Reilly, I'm 15 and think the Factor is great and all, but you have made my brother a zombie. Please convince my brother there is more to life than news. Well, first of all, Lisa, he may be a zombie, but he's a smart zombie. And second, there is more to life than news, which is why we're only on 1 hour a day. And how about that website, which is on 24 hours a day, www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. We have the interview with the Creed lead singer posted on the website. We have my column for WorldNetDaily.com on there. Factor Gear, signed books for Mother's Day and Father's Day and Graduation Day and Arbor Day. Did Arbor Day happen already? I don't even know when that is. And all kinds of stuff on the website. Also, how about emailing us with some pithy comments? O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town. Keep it pithy. If you wish to. All right. Those are the rules, and we like reading your emails, so thanks a lot for sending it in. That is it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Hanny and Combs are next, and they're going to talk about why Yale is giving some students financial aid who've been convicted of drug felonies. All right, that debate's next. And we hope to see you next time.